Mm-hmm.
All right, Africa, we are live and direct on the African Portal Radio TV International. It's going to be a great celebration. It's July 4, and it's going to be a great time in this studio as we have the great leaders of Africa on this broadcast that we're going to be doing it together. So, but before we get into the business of the day, let me just quickly allow you to enjoy one or two beautiful songs that will be dishing out to you before we get to the business of the day. Let's start with this. We are live. Very much, everyone. Welcome to this beautiful conversation on the African Portal Radio TV International. I have the great leaders in the house that we're going to be having this conversation together. I have with me in the studio.
Afternoon from wherever you are.
Thank you very much, ma. I really appreciate you. You can hear me now. You still can't hear me.
Still, I can't hear you.
All right. Can you use a earphone? If you have a earphone with you there, we can hear you clearly in the studio. All right. Let's do this. We can hear you clearly in the studio. All right, everyone. I really appreciate your time. Let me allow Professor Ojo to welcome everyone to this broadcast this hour and introduce himself before I go to Professor John Ayoade.
Oh, thank you very much, the director of the studio. I'm Professor Sunday Ojo. I'm currently an adjunct professor with Durban University of Technology. I'm also an executive director of African Indigenous Language Technology Institute, as well as an expert consultant to University of South Africa. I'm presently also the leader of a British Council-funded project about what is called Innovation for African Universities, where we are trying to see how we can partner as institutions in Africa for the advancement of African development. We would like to welcome everybody to the African Portal. Emeritus Professor Ayoade from Ibadan. It's great to have you on board. Professor Lumumba, to see space. You're all welcome. We are together to rub mind on how we can provide African solutions to African problems. That's the focal point of our discussion today. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And also, I want to welcome on this broadcast this hour, Professor Emeritus Professor John Ayoade, all the way from Nigeria, joining us live and direct to celebrate this great day, July 4, and to also let Africa know that we are blessed with people with a kind of mindset that's working towards the progress of this great continent, Africa. Professor John Ayoade, I just want you to please introduce yourself to the listeners and welcome everyone to this broadcast this hour.
Thank you very much, Director. I am Emeritus Professor John Ayoade, Emeritus Professor of Political Science at the University of Ibadan. I've had the opportunity of working in several other universities. Currently, I'm also adjunct professor at Bowen University, Iwo, Nigeria. But before then, I had taught at University of Pennsylvania and some other universities in the United States. Currently, I am emeritus professor at the University of Ibadan, looking at issues about the development of political science in the university. And at Bowen University, we had started a new program. I would think is the first of its type in Africa. It's a combined honors program of political science and law. We believe that this combination is going to produce better lawyers, better political scientists, better politicians. And that's why we started the program. Once again, I want to thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Oh, all right, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And thank you for your time. And thank you for believing in this great continent, Africa. I really appreciate the great work you are doing. And also, Professor Joe, thank you for being a great leader, especially in our community here in South Africa. Thank you very, very much. Let me start with Professor John Ayoade. Professor John Ayoade, you mentioned something about the progress that you are working on, especially to produce a good politician in the continent of Africa. Can you elaborate it a bit? Tell us more about it and what are the processing and where are we right now?
One interesting thing, which is also a sad one, is the fact that politics, which is the most important aspect of our lives, is something that people go into without training. A carpenter can become a politician by saying so, just by saying so. And you discover that when people deal with human beings, they need to know more about human beings and how to handle human beings. Man management is an essential part of our lives. But people go into politics, as Robert Stevenson once said, politics is the only profession that people don't learn. They just rush into it. And because they don't learn it, they mess all of us up. So we think that it is necessary to train politicians, and not just train politicians, we also need to train the electorate so that they know what their rights are and what their obligations are, because people talk more about rights without ever talking about obligations. And one of the most important obligations of the electorate is to keep the politicians, the political leaders on their toes. But definitely you have to know what the responsibilities are and what is important for moving the nation from one point to the next. And this is why we think that we need education, political education, in terms of socializing the people to the needs and processes of the society. So basically, that's the principle, that we need to educate not just the leaders, we also need to educate the followers so that they can work in tandem.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you very much, sir. So let's talk about the acceptability of this. What is the turnout? I mean, from the politician, are you getting a very good response on this?
Well, one thing is when you start a new program, you don't expect it to catch on immediately. Particularly, you are dealing with people who think that they know it all. And because they think they know it all, they don't believe that there is anything else anybody can teach them. But it's important that with the support of government, it will catch on. My experience working earlier on at the Center for Democratic Studies in Abuja is that people are also willing to know more things And if you have very good programs for women, for youths, for political leaders, for party leaders, etc., you are going to get people buying into it. It only needs a beginning and a good plan and some funding to be able to do that. And so far, so good.
Wow, wow. Thank you very, very much, sir. I really appreciate that. Let me quickly check if we can get Professor Lumumba right now on this conversation. The line is still mute. Kindly help us unmute the line so that we can be able to see if you can hear us in the studio. All right, thank you very much, Professor John Ayuade, emeritus and one of the great African leaders working towards the solution to the problem of Africa. Let me just give you the background of what is coming on this program. Professor Lumumba will be joining us all the way from Kenya, and we will be discussing about the vision that he has for Africa. That in the year 2030, Africa will be free of HIV. That will be the conversation that we're going to be having with the Professor Lumumba, and also we are going to be having Professor Ojo right here on this program as well, where we'll be talking about the project that is going on right now in Africa to bring the balance and the progress to this continent of Africa. Currently, I'm with Professor John Ayuade from University of Ibadan, Nigeria. And Professor Ayuade is one of the people that believe that we can do more, especially when it comes to politicians in Africa, when it's come to policy making, and when it comes to people that want to go into politics in Africa. So let's quickly look at the current progress that you are making step by step. For other people listening to us in other parts of Africa, is this meant for only Nigeria, or this is a continental program? Professor Ayuade.
Yeah, thank you. It's going to be a continental program, but we are testing it out first in Nigeria. And we hope that once we can wide curriculum. Now it is something that we have to sell first to the African leaders, and if it is sold and they buy into it, then it can be instituted and established in different parts of Africa. Unfortunately, our experience starting the Center for Democratic Studies was that the government, because we also have to address the political leaders, and some of them were not too educated enough to accept it. And that was why the Center for Democratic Studies collapsed. But before it collapsed, we already got invitations from Ethiopia. Ethiopia wanted us to come and start a Center for Democratic Studies where we are going to train politicians, we are going to train youths, and we are going to sensitize the general public to what politics is all about. According to Aristotle, Greek philosopher, he argued that politics is the master science. Politics controls every other thing. It controls education, controls health, it controls social life, controls economics. And so it is important, and it must be given a pride of place so that all the people know what it is all about. Whatever governs humanity is important, and politics is what governs humanity. So we have to take it seriously and give ourselves minimal political education for us to function as leaders and for us to also function as followers. This is the plan, the program, and we hope it will catch on the African continent.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much, sir. I have a lot of people connecting with us in the studio. Some of the people can please join us as well. I can see our mother, Rachel Ojo. Thank you very much. I see Maraga. Thank you very much. I see Mosima. Thank you very, very much. Chumi, Shola, I can see a lot of people in the studio. At the same time, the program is also live on our Facebook and also on our YouTube. For those of you that will not be able to connect with us in the studio, you can go to the African Portal on Facebook. This program is live as we speak, and also it's live on our YouTube. You can go to our YouTube as well and watch this program live and direct on our space as well. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate every one of you connecting to this broadcast this hour. I really, really appreciate your time on this broadcast. I can see Kenny aware as well. Thank you very much. I really appreciate every one of you that you are connecting. But if your camera is on, I can quickly switch you on for us to just have one or two things from you. Let me start with Kenny Aware. Kenny Aware, if your camera is on and you want to say something about the conversation and the celebration of today, please put on your camera. Let us see that you are there. Kenny Aware, if you are there, okay, it's already out. All right. Okay, let me just quickly put Maraga Alex on as well. I just want to make sure that I got everyone in onto this broadcast this hour. All right, I can see our mother right here, right now, connecting with us. Ma, I really appreciate you. Can you please unmute yourself? We just want to hear your voice. We can see your face. Kindly unmute yourself. You have just 2 minutes on this program right now. You are live now, ma.
Me? Are you talking to me,
Yes,
sir?
Yes, I'm talking to you, ma.
Okay, thank you very much. It's
You're
good
welcome.
to be on this program, but I've just joined, so I've not been following the story. I can't comment.
I understand that you didn't follow the story, but today is July 4th, and it's still my birthday, and it's a special broadcast that we are talking about the progress of Africa. In one voice, I just want you to let the world know what changes do you want to see in Africa, and what progress are you looking forward to see in Africa?
Okay, thank you. The type of progress I want to see in Africa is that I want a society where there will be better education for even the poor, those who cannot afford, where we can have amenities free for the poor like water, electricity, and other things. And also, I want a community where people can be free to say their minds without being victimized in any way. Thank you.
All right, ma. Thank you very much, ma. I really appreciate that. That is our mother, Dr. Mrs. Rachel Ojo, telling us that they want Africa where there will be freedom of speech, where we can be able to express ourselves without any victimization. Ma, I really appreciate you so much. And at the same time, if you have a message for me on this special day as I'm celebrating my birthday, you can tell us. If you don't have, then you can join us on Facebook.
Okay, thank you, my brother. I say happy birthday to you, and I wish you God's blessings today and every day. And in addition, I appreciate the way you have been helping people at functions. You have really been very helpful. God bless you.
Thank you very much, ma. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, ma. That is our mother, Dr. Mrs. Rachel Ojo, joining us from here in Victoria. Thank you very much, ma. I really appreciate it. You can continue watching this program on our Facebook and also on our YouTube, and you can share it as well and send your comments. God bless you, ma. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much. All right, everyone, thank you very, very much. We really appreciate your time on this program this hour. And I really want to say thank you for joining us. We have a lot of people connecting with us. We are just waiting for Professor Lumumba to join us from Kenya, so that we can be able to have the smooth conversation. And also, I have Dan with me. Dan, if you are there, can you please switch on your camera? Let's hear from you. If you are not, I'm going to remove you from this platform. But if you are there, kindly switch on your camera. Let's hear from you. All right, Dan, thank you very much. This is the link to the program on Facebook. If you are watching us all over the world, you can connect with us on Facebook. The link is right here in the screen. You can connect with us. Thank you very much, Dan. I really appreciate your time on this broadcast. Can you please unmute yourself?
Good morning to you all.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Go ahead and let the world know who you are and where you are. Your line is keep on going on mute. Can you unmute your line and let's hear from you? All right. Unfortunately, I think his line is off there. Okay. All right. Dan, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you as well. Your line keep on going on mute. Okay, I think we have challenges with Dan line there. Let's quickly go to all right, Dan, if you can hear me, I think your line is giving problem there. So let me go back to the great leader, Professor John Ayoade. Is an emeritus and is one of the great African leader. Prof, thank you very much, sir. There is something our mother, Dr. Mrs. Ojo, mentioned about the freedom of speech. And you see that this is one of the challenges. When you are outspoken, you become a threat to politicians. Is there anything you are doing in your own space to address this kind of problem? Because it's one of the big problems in Africa.
Well, definitely people who think that they have power don't want to be corrected because they think that power puts them over and above every other human being, which is not correct. What keeps society going is the contribution of people in terms of what they need, what they think the society needs, and to put the society above self, so that the politicians have to be told and they have to understand that the freedom of speech is fundamental to anything, to progress, to development, to the enhancement of humanity, and that freedom of speech should never be curtailed. Even when people think that what one says is against them, it is important to listen to it. And once people contribute their ideas, we can then take the best ideas out of the pack and implement. But to mute some people is to lose the opportunity of having something better than what we already know. So freedom of speech is very important. And because it is God-given, nobody has a right, no government has a right to stop people from airing their views. Fortunately, these days, the social media has made freedom of speech very extensive, and it is still expanding. On their very little phones, they can spread ideas, they can talk to other people, they can talk about government, they can also talk to government. And I think it is important that we have reached this point now. And so freedom of speech is king in the management of society. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. Dan, I'm trying to make sure that I put you on the spotlight, but your line keep on going on mute. If you are there now and you can hear me, Dan, Your line keep on going on mute. I think that is where the problem is. So if you can unmute yourself, just greet everybody in the house and let us know your view about the conversation. Kindly unmute yourself.
I trust I'm audible, and good morning to everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, I support the views of my Dr. Ojo and Professor Ayo. With the development in Africa, we also have the BRICS, which is bringing quite a lot of development in Africa as a whole. And I believe that with what is happening with the BRICS, one of the things they are looking at having a currency that is going to compete with the euro and also the American dollar, which will actually uplift Africa as a whole, or all the BRICS members. And it may also assist in terms of the development, not only development, but reducing unemployment. And as you know, Africa is suffering with the energy crisis. Countries like Russia, China, they are actually leading in terms of fusion energy, which they can bring to Africa, and we won't suffer with the issue of load shedding and energy crisis anymore. That will be my contribution for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Before you go, sir, I just want to throw a question to you. Do you see this as a solution to the problem of Africa? Or should we say that Africa should find a way of us developing a system within ourselves instead of looking for BRICS or looking for Europe or looking for America? Is it not possible for Africa to have its own system within Africa, in African context, for us to be able to find solutions to our problem by ourselves?
I believe that Africa must learn to solve their own problems in their own way. We have unique problems in Africa, but we all need to work in one accord. I can give an example about the Congo River. We can produce enough energy from the Congo River to supply electricity to all Africa. But we just need to work in one accord. And Africa has the best engineers. Just to give you an example, the first ATM was engineered from South Africa. Although the concept came from outside Africa, but it didn't work. The African engineers are the ones that made it work. So we have the best intellectuals in Africa that can actually assist in solving African problems. So we don't have to look outside Africa only. It is just a small percentage that can contribute that is coming outside Africa. But the concept of solving our own problem with the intellectuals that we have in Africa, it will actually solve all our problems. So Africa must solve their own problems.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Dan. I really appreciate your contribution, and I really appreciate you coming out to be part of this conversation. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you, and thank you. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone joining us. We are getting message from the from Professor Lumumba. They are having network issue. And Professor Lumumba needs to be at the airport in the next in the next few minutes. So we are just waiting for them to connect with us again. All right, Professor John Ayuade, Dr. Dan just mentioned something about the BRICS coming to Africa. What is your view about this? Do you think this is going to bring the solution to the problem of Africa, or is it still going to be the same thing?
Well, I think that we cannot be running a mono policy country. A policy where everyone is tied to America, there is need for competitiveness in terms of policy. And that was why at the early part of the independence for African countries, most of the countries established or joined the non-aligned movement. Now, non-alignment is not is in a way an alignment. It only means that you are not bound, you are not a slave to any particular area. And I think that that's what we should do now. We should be non-aligned. Non-aligned in the sense that we should be free to choose the best practice from wherever, whether it is from China, from Russia, even from Singapore. Whatever is good for us is what we should do. We are not slaves to any particular country. And therefore, we are free to choose what is best for us. Just as it is often said, for forms of government, let force whatever is best governed is best. So whatever works for us is the best. Whether it is BRICS, whether it is Commonwealth, whether it is America, whether it is Russia. All that we want is progress for our country, for our people, and for the continent. So it does not matter where that progress comes from. There used to be a Nigerian leader and activist in those days who said, if the devil gives you scholarship, take it, and then you'll be free from the devil. So scholarship from the devil gives you freedom, because in the end, you now know who the devil is. And so we cannot be pegged. We cannot be tied to any particular ideology, any form of government. The form of government that is good is the government that serves the interest of the people.
Yeah.
And as Dan mentioned, it is important to know that Africa has peculiar problems. And because our problems are peculiar to us, the methodology of America or the methodology of China, the methodology of the Commonwealth may not fully and completely solve our problem. So we also have to resort
Yes.
to indigenous solutions. This is why it is important. Thank you.
Behalf, do you just want to let the world is hearing us? This is the permanent secretary to Professor Lumumba. On his behalf, do you want to greet everyone? Do you want to say hello to everyone? And if you have something you want to say.
I can't do that because Professor was the one to address the issue. So
okay. All right. Okay, thank you very much. We're still going to be continuing with the program, and we appreciate your time, and we will talk after. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Professor Ojo is live and direct with us. Professor Ojo is listening to the conversation from Emeritus Professor John, and I'm so excited that I have these two great leaders in the house, and I still have Dr. Rachel Ojo as well in the house. Also following the program. Professor Joe, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for the vision you have for this great African continent. Sir, let's quickly look at the discussion so far and the direction this discussion is going. What is your view about this conversation, and what do you think we need to do, especially within African context, for us to find a permanent solution to some of the problems in Africa?
Oh, thank you very much, the Director of Program. I concur with the view from the Emeritus Professor John Ayoade on the issue raised by If I take off from the point where Professor Yade mentioned there's the need for indigenous solution to peculiar problem of Africa, we need to know there's a principle that every problem is context defined, and so should be the solution provisioning. Any attempt to try to extrapolate solution to a similar problem in a different context and try to apply directly to the solution to African problem would definitely fail, because we'll be faced with what we call the problem of model mismatch. So I concur that the need for African solution to African problem, that is only a solution that can be sustainable. The sustainability of a solution is very, very important. And any imported solution that's not appropriately adapted to the contextual realities of our environment, it will not be sustainable, or in fact, we could complicate the problem beyond our own control. Take, for example, we are faced with the issue of climate change, which is a global issue. We are faced with the youth unemployment, which is all over too. But within Africa, if you could see with the youth unemployment, we are youngest population in the world, having about 2/3 of African population being youths. And our economy is resource dependent. That's natural resource dependent as well as climate dependent. So every devastating effect of climate change has immediate effect on our economy, and with the implication for youth employability or youth employment. Now, to say that climate change solution provided in the UK, for example, can be extrapolated to our own solving our climate change challenge, it's not going to work. UK economy is not natural resources dependent as Africa's. UK does not have 2/3 of its population as youths. So Africa needs to look internally for that solution to that problem. I cited this as an example because of its peculiarity within our own context. We did something recently where we tried to study the climate change solution through what you call carbon literacy in the UK. A project I'm leading, I took my team, we spent 10 hours of studying this by going through some training in carbon literacy. We pick a lot that the solution they are provided through carbon literacy is too UK-centric. And in devising our own solution, we see the need to adapt this properly and contextualize why it is good to have a reference point so that you don't start from ground zero. At the same time, we must be prepared for a proper contextualization of any solution we are borrowing. There's a principle of technology development and transfer that says adaptation is a form of invention. So as Professor Yade mentioned, yes, there could be some solution or idea we could borrow from here and there, but the reality of the need for contextualized solution to African problem is very, very important for sustainability of problem of the sustainability of solution, as well as making the solution relevant and appropriate to our context. Thank you.
Very much, sir. That's a very lovely one. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I really thank you for your contribution. All right, I'm going to bring Professor John back. Professor John, please, I'm going to bring you back because there's something mentioned that I want you to also put a light on if you are there, sir. All right, if you are there, sir, let's know so that we can be able to continue. Thank you very much, everyone. This is the African Portal Radio TV International, coming to you live and direct from our studio here in Victoria, South Africa. And it's a great pleasure to have these great people in the studio, especially the great leaders of our time. I have Professor Sunday Ojo, I have Emeritus Professor John Ayuade, and also Professor Lumumba joined us briefly from Kenya, even though the network is failing us on the side, but he was in the studio as well with us. Also, I have our mother, Dr. Rachel Ojo, as well, and also Dr. Dan as well, joining us and having the conversation, talking about the progress that we are looking forward to. What's your view about this conversation? Kindly call us on +277033584, or you can drop your comment on our comment section on Facebook or on YouTube. This program is live and direct on the African Portal Radio TV International. So you can connect with us on that space. And we really appreciate your time and your comment on this program this hour. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm not sure if Professor John is there. So let's look at the project that you champion, and you sit as a chairman of that project. What progress is this project is bringing to Africa, and what do you think is going to be the outcome, especially for the ordinary citizen of Africa? Professor Ojo.
Oh, okay. I thought you mentioned Professor Ayuade. That's why I was.
Yeah, it's no longer on the program. Also, yes, sir.
Okay, that is great. With regards to the project, we recognize the challenge, what we call a twin challenge, which interrelated the climate change and then youth employment challenges in Africa. We have the British Council initiating a program that's called Innovation for African Universities program. That program is meant to create a platform for African higher education institutions and what we call ecosystem players within Africa and then the UK to work collaboratively to identify developmental challenges in Africa and zoom in on a problem that they want to tackle to be funded by the British Council. So my group that that one led to about 84 institutions in Africa involved in 25 projects addressing different aspects of developmental challenges in Africa. Now, but I'll speak briefly about the project that I am leading. That project, we call it's carbon literacy for youth employability and job creation in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, I put together a partnership, from my university, Durban University of Technology. I was directed to put together a partnership consisting of 5 institutions. The condition the UK government gave us is that through British Council, is that there must be a UK institution in that partnership. And then there can be 2 to 4 African institutions. So we have Sheffield Island University in the UK. We have Kisi University in Kenya. We have Ladoke Akintola University of Technology in Nigeria. Of course, my own university, Durban University of Technology. And then we have Innovate Durban, an ecosystem player. They're the one who try to support youths who wants to have startup and then give them proper training, proper support, for them to take off. So making 5 institutions involved. On our project, we identify that the climate change problem and youth employability problem, they are interrelated, particularly in the context of Africa. Africa's economy is natural resource based as well as weather dependent. Anything that happens to our natural resources, anything that happens to our weather has implication for our economy. The devastating effects of climate change, for example, it's has effect on our economy because it impacts our natural resources on which the economy is dependent, as well the weather condition of which again our economy is dependent. And when there's such effects on our economy, of course, the issue of employment for our youths, teeming, 2/3 of our population being youth. No, it's obvious that's going to have that effect on it. And we felt in our project that we can provide an integrated solution to these interrelated challenges, youth employment and climate change. What we did is to study what's going on in the UK because that's our out of African partner. We saw that they try to educate the populace through what they call carbon literacy. Carbon literacy enables an individual to identify the effect of his day-to-day activity on the climate. How we are generating what you call carbon footprints. The higher the carbon footprint we are generating, the more devastating will be the effect of the climate change on our environment. So we said that since climate change and carbon and youth employment, they are interrelated, we should provide that integrated solution. What have we done? We understudied the UK carbon literacy project, and what we pick up is that is UK centric, and it's understandable. Every problem is context defined, so must be solution provisioning. The carbon literacy solution for climate change in the context of UK has to be UK centric. So if you want to borrow any idea from that, you must prepare for appropriate contextualization or adaptation into the African contextual realities or particularities. So we designed a knowledge area where we called carbon literacy for green innovation and entrepreneurship. We pick up the fact that in the solution provided to mitigate climate change lies opportunity to advance green economy in the context of Africa. And the example of green economy as where they have what they call circular economy and the likes, there, where, for example, we turn waste to wealth. In Kenya, people started a project where they pick tons of plastics in Mombasa beach, coming from different parts of the world, in the sea. Anything we throw anything in the sea, it can land anywhere in the world. They were able to establish a factory, I can call it, where they are producing slippers, from plastic, turning plastic waste into slipper people wear at affordable cost within the context of Kenya. We've seen that when a number of African countries or in the world, we have turning to renewable energy rather than fossil fuel dependent energy sources that has some effects on the environment. So in that way, there's opportunity for youth employment or job creation in the green economy that emerges as we provide solutions to the climate change in our environment. So we've developed a knowledge area, which we call carbon literacy for green innovation entrepreneurship. And this knowledge area, we have trained youth in Kenya, in Nigeria, in South Africa, as a test bed to see the efficacy of what we have produced. And we've developed a platform, learning management system platform that we want to turn into a MOOC now, massive produced learning system where what we are doing is accessible anywhere in the world. Now, the British Council has provided some funding now that between January 2023 to February 2024, we should turn out to a curriculum that we could sell to various higher education institutions in Africa, so that the graduates from our higher education institutions, they can come with being carbon literate and as well as be able to tap into the green economy, so that their employability and job creation capacity is enhanced by the time they graduate from the university. So that's what we are on now. And we are hoping by January, February next year, we'll have been ready with the curriculum and the materials, which we are going to build a learning management system accessible to anybody care to use it in Africa. And then we'll be engaging African institutions to adopt this curriculum for their graduate employability and job creation capacity enhancement. This is it. We feel that providing African solution to African problem is the way forward. And we are hoping that this will judge the mind of our political leadership. We say, oh, Africa, we can do this kind of thing ourselves. Why don't we, reprioritize, how we invest our resources by promoting the expertise that we have in Africa, attending to our indigenous challenges by providing indigenous solutions, which I've called African solution to African problem. That is the way forward, and this direction we are going. Thank you. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much. This is the African Portal Radio TV International, coming to you live and direct from Pretoria here in South Africa. Professor Ojo, thank you very much for that beautiful presentation there. I believe that Africa, we are on the rise, and the solution to African problem within Africa is achievable. And that is why we have these great leaders that they believe that in their own time, they will find a permanent solution to some of the problem in Africa. Thank you very much, Emeritus Professor John Ayoade. Thank you for coming back. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, let's look at what Professor Ojo mentioned just now. Connect with what you are doing right now, bringing the politician into a place whereby they can be able to have a knowledge about their how they can develop their own country. So let's look at that and let's put it side by side. I over here, Professor Ojo, talking about the British Council, be the one pioneer this idea and be the one funding this idea. Sir, why Africa don't fund such projects? Why do we need to wait for British to be the one funding it? Why that, sir? Professor Ayoade.
Thank you. One of the problems we have in Africa is that we don't have philanthropic spirit. People are not ready to pay for something from which they cannot earn immediate benefit. Anything that does not come immediately, for most African leaders, is not achievable. So they are not investing. And if any project on which you don't invest, you cannot have a good return from such a project. So it is important for Africans to learn the spirit of giving, the spirit of investing. We have to invest in ourselves. Our development is not anybody else's business. Our development is our business. And as long as we abandon it, then we can forget about development. So our government must have a part of their budget for generating new ideas and promoting such ideas into fruition. Now, if they are not ready to do that, in fact, it is selfish to expect an outsider to do it for you. The outsider, there is no free lunch anywhere. The outsider also wants a return on his investment. And therefore, when he asks you to do something, he's asking you to share in the burden of improving his own country. And that's what is going on. Sometimes when we get grants, they give us conditions about how to use the grant. And the conditions are definitely skewed in favor of the grant giver. So if Africans want development for themselves, they must pay for that development. Now, this is one education that our leaders need. It's not going to come free. It is going to come at a cost. And they must be ready to pay that cost. Now, unfortunately, the money that they refuse to spend on promoting themselves is taken over by corruption of other people. And that corruption is something that they are more or less is a capital flight kind of problem. They take the money out of here and lodge it in the developed countries. Many years ago, when I was a participant at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, a group from our institute went to Brazil, and they saw the rate at which Brazil has developed. And so one of the participants asked the tour guide, "What is the secret of your development?" And the tour guide said, "When we get to the office, I would explain to you." So when they got to the office, he said, "The secret is that when our generals steal money, they invest it in Brazil. When your generals steal money, they invest it in Brazil." So double jeopardy. We are losing development in our country. We are developing other countries because the money that is stolen in Africa is taken to other countries. And so much money is lost in Africa every year. Trillions of dollars are stolen from different African countries, and they are taken either to Switzerland, to the Cayman Islands, to Britain, to the US, and so on. A Nigerian leader stole so much money in these 3 years of governing Nigeria, that even up to date, we have not recovered all the money. He shipped all the money out. Now, these are things that we need for our own development, for the development of our youth, for the development of our health system, for the development of our educational system. But somebody has carried it away, and it is beneficial to other countries. So it is not only slave trade that depopulated Africa. Even our own leaders have created this development for our continent. And these are issues that will have to be dealt with. This is why there is need for political education. Let people know that when they take money out, they are underdeveloping Africa.
Mm.
We must that process of underdevelopment. Self-underdevelopment is the worst kind of political sin that anybody can have. And then after we have underdeveloped ourselves, we now go out and beg for loans. And then we get again. And they give us conditions for the payment of the loans. Right now in Nigeria, we spend 96.3% of revenue on servicing debt. So that limits the amount of capital development that we can have. In fact, a former minister of finance said that it is not likely that there will be any capital development in 2024. So if you are not moving forward, definitely you cannot stand up. You can't stand still. If you are not moving forward, you are moving backward. And that's why African countries are moving backward. They are not moving forward. And it is a self-inflicted punishment. Africans inflict it on themselves. And so we must look at some of those connections. You take a loan. It's not because people are kind to you that they give you a loan. They give you a loan so that they can guide you to where they want you to go. And once you take a loan, the conditions are given, and those conditions are such that will not profit the person that took the loan. To profit the person
That give them loan.
every loan tells you how to spend it. It tells you where you buy the materials to implement the projects. And of course, they're asking you to buy materials from their own economy. So by buying materials from their economy, you are developing employment in those economies. And you are preventing your own from learning how to develop, how to produce those materials. So this kind of underdevelopment is one of the critical issues that we have to work against, and it is very important that we do it fast. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much. I just want to throw this question to two of you. Let's look at intellectual property of the research that Professor Ojo is talking about. Who is going to have that? Who is having the intellectual property of all this research that you are working on?
Well, Professor,
well,
that.
Okay. Now we raised that issue. Well, I must say that there's a kind of a shift in paradigm in the British funding of developmental projects in Africa, as far as this Innovation for African University program is concerned. Now they provide, what Professor Ade mentioned, that he alluded to the saying that whoever pays the piper dictates the tune. So he will never trust the piper to dictate the right tune, to play the right tune. He has to dictate it. Now, but this time around, the British can say, we are going to provide fund, but you go identify which African problem you want to solve. That was what I call a paradigm shift. So, because now we have in the partnership, there must be a British institution with us. The implication of that is that whatever we develop, if there's going to be any intellectual property out of this, have to be shared between the British and the Africans. And sometimes they will say maybe the rules, the regulation guiding that has to be the British one. For example, they say how we manage the fund will be within the British monetary rule system, which is understandable. That's the reality that is there. So I must confess that issue of to who belongs the intellectual property, is still a bit of a challenge, not only with the funder, but we have 5 partners coming together, including a British institution. So how do we have this sharing of the intellectual property. What we have developed is something you can patent somehow, but we are still to get to that stage. But that issue emanates every time there is a funder. They may put condition there that the intellectual property will belong to them, and which is logical. So I think that's that's an issue. A related issue, which also link with what Professor Adi said earlier. You see, I read years ago, when the political class in Africa, whether deliberately or inadvertently, they create an inconducive environment for people with expertise to come out with innovative idea to develop Africa. As Professor Ade mentioned, because there's what is in there for the politician. Once you don't show that immediately, they're going to shut you down. Now, after they create that inconducive environment, we are forced to go into diaspora. I'm telling you this one. And in our place, they will bring so-called experts to do what they didn't allow us to do, and then be getting their bribe from there. Currently, we have an initiative where we're trying to see how we can bring Israeli technology into Africa. So a politician told me that what you commonly find is that those who come from outside, they will say this is going to cost 100 million dollar, for example, the project. And they say, government, you have to contribute 30 million. We are going to contribute 70 million. But I bet you say from what he has found out, well, I say he's a politician, but he's a professor also who deployed to where it was used, as a commissioner in one of our states. He said that what they found out is that the actual cost of the project is 30 million, not 100 million. So once the government makes that available, they will tell you, and the bulk of that again will go into their own consulting, the expertise, rather than using the local expertise that we have. So you see, it's a dilemma, it's a double advancement jeopardy, when the political class creating conducive environment for our experts to advance and then go and bring somebody from outside to replace. There was a case in Nigeria in the agricultural sector when they bring this expert in. Coincidentally, a Nigerian classmate of that guy was in the government team. The guy said, so and so is here, and you need me to do it. He said, sorry, he's one of the most brilliant in our class. Honestly, that he will rather go back if you cannot recognize that you already have solutions to your problem in this guy here. That guy honestly just left the project and said, if you can't use so and so, I cannot do it. Can you see that kind of? So it's a bit of multifaceted challenge that we are facing, having to provide African solutions to African problem, using our expertise to think creatively, to indigenize our solution so they can be sustainable, they can be relevant and appropriate. So when we do that, the issue of intellectual property, will be out of the place. Now we are more of knowledge consumers, Africans, in the global world. We want to take a lot of things from outside, rather than be contributors in the global space to contribute to knowledge there, so that they say, oh, this originates from Africa. And many of things that originate from Africa, they take it, they recast it, and say, no, it's from Spain, it's from this and that. We need to get our political class, as Prof. Yade mentioned, to really give the right political leadership and create a socio-economic environment where our people who are doing excellently in America and all over the place, can be able to contribute to advancement of African economy. And then whatever intellectual property we generate belongs to African context. We can share. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Professor Yadi, I'm going to throw this question to you. During your research or your work, have you ever sit down and look at the genesis of this problem created by the politician in Africa? Have you looked at it that where is this problem coming from? Is there any external force that is making them to do such damage to their own continent? Have you ever looked into that?
Well, it's really a difficult issue. There's no doubt that the selfishness of the political class is responsible for some of the problems. The political class has an infatuation with what is foreign. They always like, if they have an ailment, they want to go abroad for treatment. And when they go there, they buy all sorts of junks, radio, television, telephone, and so on. So there is that feeling that whatever is external is superior. And to the point that they think that intellectualism is also superior if it comes from outside. But that has an economic angle to it. Now, they want to hide the tracks for corruption. So if you brought a consultant from, say, you brought a consultant from Spain, it's not likely to divulge the secret of the contract that you have with him. But if you, for example, take a Nigerian for the same contract, they are afraid that there might be a leakage. And so they want to plug that kind of leak so that nobody gets to know what they are doing. That's one. But even at the intellectual side, there's also a problem which has to be looked at. Now, most universities want you to publish in what they call international journals. For example, you are dealing with a Nigerian problem, or you are dealing with a Gambian problem, and they want you to publish it in an international journal. Now, two things are happening. First, you are divulging the secret of development of your country to other countries, and so they can block it. So, because we disparage our own things, instead of publishing Nigerian solutions to Nigerian problems in Nigeria, we decide to publish it in Portugal, in Australia, it's not even available to the local people. So that's one problem. This idea of scholarship being international and all that. What I would in fact suggest is that for every journal that you publish outside, you must also republish it in the local area so that the local people is about the local people. So
Yes.
if you are talking about my local government and you have to publish what concerns my local government in Australia, that's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. So all these international journal publication and so on, and now they are bringing some fanciful idea about scopus, how many papers you have in scopus, and so on. These are kinds of imperialism that is going on. Now, because they also rank universities, those who rank universities look at the papers that you publish in international journals. Now, everything is international. If Britain also published in Nigeria, that's international. So if I publish in Britain, that's international. It cancels out. So there is nothing international actually, because every country is part of the international system. And so for you to say I must publish in Australia is to say that I must deny Nigerians of the knowledge that I have. And I think that these are issues that our scholars also have to look at. And we must fight this kind of intellectual imperialism, which is going on. we are losing on both sides. We are educating the international community outside the continent, and we are depriving ourselves of that knowledge. So every development is data-based. So if we are not supplying the data at home, we are exporting the data. When they bring back the data to us, they ask us to pay for it. And we have to pay for it. So you now have consultants who are experts on Nigeria outside Nigeria. It's not because they have data brains, it's because we have sold ourselves to them. And these are issues that we have to look at. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate this. And this is gaining momentum. A lot of people are joining us. A lot of people are looking at it. A lot of people are saying that, wow, this like a high opener, because all these things have been kept for years and people doesn't even talk about it. And it's happening right in the front of us, especially in our educational environment. I have Dr. Ojo as well, because I don't want it to be like only men at work talking. I want to bring our mom also in, because I can see she's nodding her head and say, yes, you are speaking my mind. Dr. Ojo, please unmute yourself. I just want to hear your view about this, especially what Emeritus Professor John Ayoade just explained just now. I just want to hear your view about it.
Yes, thank you. I agree with Daddy Professor John Ayoade on everything he has said. When we develop things in Africa, we should make the information to be available in Africa for our consumption and for our knowledge, so as to improve in future. We should look at areas where we are not up to date and educate ourselves as to how to improve. Then we should not be sending vital information about Africa to foreign countries, and then in turn we allow them to exploit the information or to exploit us. So I agree with Professor Ayoade that we should embark on developing Africa with our education or with whatever we think will be useful for us. I don't know if you have specific areas you want me to speak on.
No, you said it. You said it well, man. Thank you very much, man. I like your view about it. Let me go to Professor Ojo, because Professor Ojo, you're sitting on a project that I believe that is bringing progress to Africa. Sir, what what do we need to do now to achieve this? What Professor Ayoade just mentioned now, I'm surprised, because this is happening in our institution, in our university, and nobody said anything about it. What is the solution to this, and what steps do we need to take from here?
Yeah, I was saying our mindset in different dimensions: political mindset, economy mindset, social, whatever it is, multidimensional, areas where our mindset is about, needs to change. There's a saying that change your attitude, you change your way. Our attitude towards our own continent has to change, where we devalue what we have, what's indigenous to us, and exalt things that we have in other parts of the world. As I earlier said, all our problems are context defined, and our solution must be also context defined. So in our education system, we need to embark on engaging our students right from the primary school to all this issue being raised about the importance of valuing what is African, our Africanness, that's our humanity. For people, there was a man, Agre, I think it's a Ghanaian, who said, I'm proud of my color. Whoever is not proud of color is not fit to live. Now we must know that Africa is our total, is our humanity, and then we must encourage from the primary school level, secondary about this issue of advancing or valuing what is African. That's very, very important. So I'm trying to zoom in on the fact that our change will come from giving our learners, our educators, even intellectual orientation, to value what we have within, and then to see as very important, rather than being just docile consumer of knowledge come from outside, we should be producer of African indigenous knowledge that will be influencing thinking globally too, rather than we just saying, oh, all I did, I come from US, UK, Europe, that is it. Let's use it this way. We must originate things from here, and we have the capacity to do it. We have the expertise. As I was alluding to the issue of having a lot of us in diaspora, they are making some analysis in the context of the United States recently. It's an American. In terms of the people who come from outside to America, the most educated people who are in high-class intellectual arena, people who are making groundbreaking inventions, in America, they are from Africa. Particularly Nigeria is contributing a lot, and several other African countries too. Now, but these are things that, as I said, will be difficult for us to do if we are within the environment where we don't have the political will of our leadership or political leadership to guide us in the usage of our resources, in our priorities, to be ready to endure short-term pain for long-term gain, rather than looking at what can I get now. No, we're already mortgaging the future. Imagine the statistics that Prof. Ade mentioned. We have borrowed so much in Nigeria now that 96.3% is to service loan. Why? That's a country that is abundant in resources. Where are those being spent? Where's our priority? So the need for education system to inculcate valuing Africa, indigenous ideas, indigenous resources, is very, very important. That's what I see as direction for now. Yeah.
Very, very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for that view, and then thank you for joining us to make it possible. I really appreciate every one of you. I'm bringing everybody back on the spotlight right here, right now, because we are rounding up this conversation, and it has been a very beautiful conversation. And the only thing we can do is to share this program, let this go viral. I am so happy that I have Emeritus Professor John Ayoade, because all the things discussed here is going to be taken forward to the next level for us to be able to utilize it in our system and in other things that we are doing. And to everyone listening to us, what you can do for this program is to share it, because we have knowledgeable people, we have the scholars in the house that they are doing justice to some of the challenges facing us. But some of these challenges is created by ourselves, and we are the one that needs to deal with them by ourselves. So let's look inwardly and find solutions to some of the problem in between us, so that we can be able to move this great continent forward. Sir, Professor John Ayoade, I really appreciate you coming out to be part of this conversation on July 4, 2023, and also for your contribution and also the information that you put on the space. Thank you very much for the pleasure of your time, sir. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to round up this section with the word of advice to the listeners and to the incoming generation.
The little advice I have is that everybody who is an African must know that whatever he does, whatever he thinks, either promotes Africa or demotes Africa. And that we have to act intentionally for the promotion of Africa. We don't have any other patrimony. The only patrimony we have is our continent. There is no way, wherever we go, as Black people on this planet, there's no way, nowhere that we go that we are not unique. We are easily distinguished and easily distinguishable. There is no place for us to hide, and therefore we must act like the golden. We are what we are. We must promote who we are, and we must appreciate who we are. We cannot back out of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, sir. Thank you so much. It is my birthday, and it is the African Porter 10 years celebration starting from now to the end of the year. Professor John Ayuade, I'm going to speak to Professor Ojo, and I think I'm still going to be having you on this broadcast every now and then, because there is a lot I think we need to do, especially finding solutions to the problem of Africa. As somebody that you know that the only solution is for us to educate our politicians. I think it's very also important that we educate the people on the street as well, because the ordinary citizen as well needs to be educated. And the only way we can do that is to having a program like this and speak to everyone, regardless our level, regardless of our standard, or regardless where we are academically. So thank you very much, sir, for coming out to be part of this great time. I really appreciate your time, and thank for the love that you have for us and for this great continent, Africa. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Our mother is also here before I let her out of our way. Ma, I really appreciate you coming out to be part of this conversation. And thanks for staying back, and thanks for the contribution on this conversation. Thank you very, very much, ma. I know you have a word as a mother to all the mothers out there, especially when we talk about the African language and the mother of today. Because the what mother of yesterday, what they did is what we are enjoying now, or is the challenges we are facing now. And what the mother of today, what they will fail to do or do, will be the challenges that incoming generation will face tomorrow. Your advice to them and to also incoming generation.
Okay, thank you. My advice to mothers is that we should train our children properly, give them good education, especially the girl child. We should not look down on the female children. We should educate both boys and girls, and we should also teach them our mother tongue, our language. That's what I do to my own children. We should not let them think that only English language or French is the language they need to speak. The effects of the mother tongue is very important in the life of a child. And actually, if a child is good at the mother tongue, it influences positively on a foreign language. So women or mothers should educate their children, give them good morals at home, because it is what we train children to do at home that they take outside. The outside world only reinforces what the child has already got from the house. So in summary, mothers should train their children well, morally and educationally. So that's the word I have.
All right, thank you very much, ma. Thank you so much. I have Margaret Olafare Adesoji joining us also and giving kudos to the African Porter for this conversation. Thank you very much, mommy. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. I see that there's somebody coming in now. I see the name Benga. I'm going to put him on the spotlight maybe later. Professor Ojo, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate you, sir. And I thank you for your time. to be here, as well as the great work you are doing in this continent, Africa, and globally. And let me let you round up this event for this hour and this conversation as we are drawing the curtain. What is your advice, and what is the things that you think we need to also put out there for our listener?
Oh, thank you very much. Let me a bit extrapolate on what Dr. Ojo mentioned about our indigenous language. We also have an initiative which we bring into Africa Indigenous Language Technology Institute. Now, because we see in these days of the internet technology, on the internet provides platforms by which information are disseminated, and it is what gets into the internet, that's what the world consumes. What we see now is that the over 80% of information on the internet is dominated by 10 of over 7,000 languages of the world, none of them African. And we must bear in mind
that they can't hear
they are technology savvy, and whatever is not available on that social media or the internet, forget about it. What Dr. Joe was saying about training our children, there's a lot of pressure from the internet materials. Even your children stay in your house. Yes, you are giving him education thereabout, but he's interacting with the different strange people on the internet, consuming different kind of information, learning things beyond what even you're getting from school. So the more we advance our indigenous language presence on the internet, putting all this information by our value system, our moral values, our educational values, social, economic, political values, advance in our own language on the internet is very, very important, because that is the medium now where you influence not only locally, but worldwide. So I want to encourage that we promote our indigenous languages. And what we are doing from our own computer science background is to digitize our language and then develop some software tools by which we can get our language, information about our language on the Wikipedia, on the Datapedia, and whatever pedia you can have. So that it's not only English, it's not only French that our children are consuming, on the system. Look at China, for example. Among the 10 languages dominating the internet, China is very much there because they've taken their own indigenous language very seriously. But in Africa, we need a lot to do to advance our indigenous language. And remember, our language is a vehicle for promoting our culture. It's like ethno-linguistics. Whatever we want to promote, we have to express in our language. President Mandela mentioned that speak to a person, he understands, but speak to him in his language, it goes into his heart. That's the reality. The more of our language presence in terms of knowledge on the internet make available for our youth who are technical savvy, the better for us in Africa. And they can start thinking a language, adopting a value system, and be more creative and be able to see the value of our culture rather than promoting other culture instead of that. I just want to speak from technology point of view there. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for that beautiful roundup and that beautiful message there. Okay, with that, everyone listening to us, if you don't understand Yoruba, you will need to go and take your dictionary and start learning something, because I'm not going to speak English again to the end of this program. This will be the end to the English on this program this hour. I know it's a continental program, but unfortunately, we are switching off of the English. Ó ṣeé ṣe kí èdè wa kó mọ́ sí mọ́ èyí tí rẹ̀ náà rèé tí iléeṣẹ́ The African Portal Radio tí a fi mú lọ́kùnkúndùn wípé èdè wa gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́ ohun tí a máa gbé lárugẹ ó sì gbọ́dọ̀ tí ó jẹ́ ohun tí a rò ṣọmọ́. Lábàlátà wà yìí mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n wá, àwọn ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n, àwọn onímọ̀, àwọn ògúnnágbòǹgbò tí ń dátọ́ lẹ́nu ògbín, àwọn náà ni wọ́n wà nínú ilé agodo yìí. Bàbá wa Gbénga wọlé sójú òpó ètò yìí, Aṣọ́nibáre. Bàbá wa Gbénga Aṣọ́nibáre, ẹ bá káwọn tí ń gbọ́ yín lé torí mo rí pé ẹ wà lójú òpó.
Akelo ní kí n ṣe o.
Bàbá gbé ẹ ṣeun bàbá, ẹ bá káwọn èèyàn tí ń gbọ́ yín lé.
Mo kí yín o. Olúwa fún wa ṣe o. Èdè wo ò ní parẹ́ o. Ṣé gbọ́ mi?
Ẹ ṣeun bàbá, ń gbọ́ yín, à ń gbọ́ yín.
Okay. Ọ̀dà, it's okay.
Ẹ ṣeun.
Ẹ kú iṣẹ́ o.
Ẹ ní dààmú. Àgbà yóò dalẹ̀, mo dúpẹ́ pé òkú lọ́wọ́ yín. Ẹgbà tá a wọnú èdè Yorùbá, òun náà lẹ wọlé sí. Mo sì ní pé aṣọ ọ̀gbàlà ń dá fún.
Ẹ bá ń kọ́ rẹ̀ mi o, Ṣẹ́gun Òjó.
Wọ́n ń gbọ́
yín o.
Wọ́n ọkùnrin tẹ̀lé ní ọ yàtọ̀ ní sẹ́ẹ̀tì wa ní yunifásitì, òun nìkan ló dá dúró bẹ́ẹ̀ sórí ẹ. Àgbà tó débi tó lọ. Ọpẹ́ ní Olúwa, ẹ kú iṣẹ́ o.
Ẹ ṣeun gan sà, ẹ ṣeun ẹ pẹ́ fún wa o, ojú òní tì yín, àgbà yóò dalẹ̀, ẹ ṣeun sà, ẹ ṣeun gan, ẹ ṣeun gan. Ẹ ṣeun. Ẹ̀yin tí gbọ́ ní gbogbo àgbáńlá ayé, mo dúpẹ́ pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀yin tẹ́ jáde, ẹ̀yin tẹ́ jọ ṣe, ẹ̀yin tí ẹ̀ ń kí wa kú ayẹyẹ ọjọ́ bí, ẹ̀yin tẹ́ sì gbàgbọ́ nínú ohun tí a gbé dání. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ bá wa Professor Sunday Ojo fún ipa tí wọ́n kó láti dájú pé ètò yìí kẹsẹ̀ járí. Mo sì dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ bàbá wa àgbà ọ̀jẹ̀ tí wọ́n sì jẹ́ onímọ̀, bàbá wa Jòhánù Ayọ̀adé. Mo dúpẹ́ pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín. Àgbà yóò dalẹ̀ o, ẹ pẹ́ fún wa lágbára Èdùmàrè. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìyá wa Rachel, onímọ̀ náà làwọn náà, Òjó mọ̀mọ́. Mo dúpẹ́ Int'L mú jáde nínú ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan, òun náà ni mò ń tẹ̀lé báyìí tí a sì ń ṣe lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ yìí. Mo dúpẹ́ pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín, ẹ ṣeun fún àdúrótì yín. Bàbá wa onímọ̀ nípa ọ̀rọ̀ tí ń lọ àti nípa ẹ̀rọ ayárabíàṣá, bàbá wa Sunday Ojo, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín. N ò ní jẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ kúrò lójú òpó ètò, ẹ ṣàánú fún mi. Mo mọ̀ pé àkókò wa ń lọ, ṣùgbọ́n ẹ ṣàánú fún mi. Ẹ sọ èdè bólẹ̀ kan, n ó tún wá padà sọ́dọ̀ àwa ẹ̀yin mẹ́tẹ̀ẹ̀ta, n ó padà sọ́dọ̀ yín ẹ̀yin bàbá wa. Ẹ bá ń sọ lédè Yorùbá fún àwọn ọmọ tí ń gbọ́ wa, torí wọ́n ní pé ilé la ti ń kẹ́ṣọ̀ọ́ ròde, tá a bá tó ṣe bí òwe wájú ẹ̀yin àgbà, wọn ò tó pòwe mojúbà yín. Tá a bá ṣe fúnra wa, wọn ò ní ṣe báwọn náà gbà wọn ó parí ẹ̀, ṣe bí gbogbo ẹ̀ náà èbó náà sọ tí wọ́n fi parí gbogbo ẹ̀. Wọ́n sì sẹ́pọ́n fẹ́ kí àwọn ọmọ káwọn ọmọ sọ Yorùbá. Ẹ jẹ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ látọ̀dọ̀ màmá wa Rachel Òjó. Màmá wa, ẹ bá dágbére kó lórí àtàgbé yìí, kẹsì bá kí gbogbo àwọn èèyàn tí ń gbọ́ wa. Ẹ sì kémi náà pa ayẹyẹ ọjọ́ bí pẹ̀lú. Ẹ bá yọ kíní gbohùngbohùn, ẹ ti tẹ kíní gbohùngbohùn mọ́lẹ̀, ẹ bá yọ kó mẹ́.
Mute.
Ẹ ṣeun ìyá wa, ó tún ti padà bẹ́ẹ̀ o, ẹ ṣeun.
Yes, ẹ kú ọjọ́ ìbí tèní, ẹ sì kú iṣẹ́ tẹ́ ń ṣe lórí ètò yìí. Inú wa dùn sí yín, a sì gbàdúrà pé ọwọ́ yín ó máa ròkè ní lórí ètò yìí àti ní gbogbo nǹkan tẹ́ ẹ bá ń ṣe. Mo dúpẹ́ pé ẹ kà mí yẹ láti wà lórí ètò yìí. Mo sì tún dúpẹ́ lórí gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ètò yìí. Àwọn dádì wa Professor John Ayọ̀adé, Professor John Ojo, àtàwọn tí wọn ò lè wà ń bí torí ìdí kan tàbí òmíì. So nítorí náà mo dúpẹ́, a kú ètò, Ọlọ́run máa ràn wá lọ́wọ́.
Ẹ ṣeun gan, ẹ ṣeun ìyá wa, àgbà yóò dalẹ̀, ẹ pẹ́ fún wa lágbára Èdùmàrè. Dan, wọ́n sọ pé I don't understand Yorùbá, ní bínú ni o. Ẹ wò ó, tó bá dẹ̀ yètò wọ́n ṣàlàyé gbogbo tá a bá sọ Yorùbá, wọ́n ṣàlàyé fún yín lédè èbó. Ní bínú ni, èdè èbó kan kò ní wọlé tí ń fi kúrò lórí ètò yìí, ní gbé èbó ẹyọ kan lẹ́nu mi. Ẹ ṣeun bàbá, ojú òní ti yé. Ẹ jẹ́ padà sọ́dọ̀ bàbá wa onímọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ àti tí wọ́n jẹ́ aṣáájú tí wọ́n sì jẹ́ ọ̀kan gbòógì lára àwọn ọmọ bíbí kóòtù òjìire. Bàbá, mojúbà yín, mojúbà kùtẹ́ dìmú, mojúbà ọjọ́ orí yín, mo sì júbà gbogbo ìmọ̀ tẹ ní pátápátá mojúbà àwọn iléèwé àti àwọn sàbùké tí ẹ ti gbà mojúbà yín bàbá ẹ bá ń káwọn tí ń gbọ́ yín lé káàsì bá ń dágbére fún wọn lédè Yorùbá pé lọ́nà méjì tá a gbà ṣe o tẹnitẹni tàkísà ń ta àgàn ẹ bá ń sọ fún wọn bẹ́ẹ̀.
A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀yin tí ẹ wà lórí ètò yìí àtẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń gbọ́ wa etí yín ò ní di o
àṣẹ o
yín látò gbogbo ohun tẹ́ ẹ dáwọ́lé lágbára Ìdùmarè á yọrí sí rere àwa tá a sì dálẹ̀ lágbára Ọlọ́run á kéré oko délé o a kí ọlọ́jọ́ bí a dúpẹ́ tí ọjọ́ òní tó ṣojú yín tó sì ṣojú àwa náà lágbára Ọlọ́run àṣọdúnmọ́dún àṣoṣùmọ́ṣù àjíṣe ara ọ máa jẹ́ o
àṣẹ bàbá mi
ra wa
ẹ ṣé bàbá mi
èyí ni a fi ń parí ètò yìí bàbá parí ètò yìí kólúwa ọmọ jẹ́ á parí báyìí o
àmì àṣẹ
àdúpẹ́ ó dàbọ̀.
ẹ ṣé bàbá ẹ pẹ́ fún wa bàbá o àgbà yóò dalẹ̀ lágbára Èdùmàrè ojú òní tì yín àwọn kan béèrè pé kí n béèrè pé ibo ni bàbá ti wá nílẹ̀ Yorùbá wọ́n ní apá àbúlẹ̀ ti wá nílẹ̀ Yorùbá bóyá kí n kì í mọ́bẹ̀.
ọmọ Ẹdẹ ni mí.
ẹ ṣé bàbá ẹ ṣeun àwọn tó béèrè ọmọ Ẹdẹ náà ni àwọn náà bó ní ọ̀kan lára àwọn ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n tó sì jẹ́ onímọ̀ náà nípa ìgbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́ Ọ̀túnba Babátúndé Tìámíyù tí wọ́n jẹ́ ọ̀gá àgbà iléeṣẹ́ pensioner nílùú Ìbàdàn ọmọ Ẹdẹ náà ni wọ́n Ẹdẹ mọ̀ pé òrógun ọmọ ajílá lọ́ọ̀ṣọ́ ọmọ ajífọjọ́ gbogbo dára bí egbin mo dúpẹ́ ìpẹ́ ọ̀pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín mo kí yín nílẹ̀ Tìmì mo sì kí yín nílùú Ẹdẹ mojúbà gbogbo yín pátápátá tí ń wò wá ní gbogbo àgbáńlá ayé pátápátá bàbá mo dúpẹ́ ìpẹ́ ọ̀pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín ojú òní tì yín ẹ pẹ́ fún wa lágbára Èdùmàrè ìmọ̀ yín ọgbọ́n yín àtòyé yín yóò máa pọ̀ sí lágbára Èdùmàrè ẹ ṣeun o fún àkókò yín bàbá wa àgbà ọ̀jẹ̀ tí Yorùbá bá ń júwe wọn Yorùbá ò ní ògúnná gbòǹgbò tí ń dátọ́ lẹ́nu ìgbín bàbá wa mo kí yín bàbá wa Sunday Òjó ẹ bá ń dágbére fáwọn tí ń wò wá ní gbogbo àgbáńlá ayé ẹ jẹ́ kán mọ̀ wípé nígbà tẹ kàwé tẹ gba gbogbo sàbùké ẹ tún gbé Yorùbá lẹ̀ o ẹ wò bí Yorùbá ṣe dùn lẹ́nu bàbá wa Ayọ̀adé ẹ gbọ́ bó ṣe sọ Yorùbá ẹ̀yin ọmọ òde òní tẹ bá ti rọra gba first degree ní èdè Yorùbá wàá di èèwọ̀ lẹ́mọ̀ fẹ́nu méèbó ṣé o lè sọ èbó tẹ èbó ni o ò lè sọ èbó tẹ èbó kò sí bó ṣe wù kó o lè ṣe o ò lè sọ èbó tẹ èbó kì í ṣèdè rẹ bàbá wa Ayọ̀adé mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín inú mi dùn fún Yorùbá tó yánnantí tó jáde lẹ́nu yín bàbá wa Sunday Òjó ẹ jẹ́ àdágbére kó lórí àtàgbé yìí mo dúpẹ́ pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín ẹ bá ń káwọn tí ń gbọ́ wa lé káàkiri àdágbére.
a dúpẹ́ pé ọjọ́ òní bá wa láyé a sì ní àǹfààní tí a ní báyìí láti sọ̀rọ̀ tí gbogbo àgbáyé ń gbọ́ báyìí tá à ń lo ẹ̀rọ èyí tí ọlọ́jọ́ bí wa ò ní Gẹ́yọ̀ Solúsan tó ń ṣe alákòóso ètò yìí tí àmì ṣe ayẹyẹ ọjọ́ bí rẹ̀ a dúpẹ́ ọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run tó dá ẹ̀mí wa sí fún ọjọ́ òní a ó ṣe èyí ní àmọ́dún àti ọdún kọ́dún tuntun tẹ̀lé gbogbo èrò gbégbé dáadáa tí à ń gbà nípa ìlú wa Áfíríkà kó lè ní ìdàgbàsókè tó yẹ Olúwa ó fún wa ṣe Olúwa ó ràn wá lọ́wọ́ ipa iwájú ni ọ̀pọ̀ ẹ̀bìtì máa ń ré sí ọ̀pọ̀ ẹ̀bìtì wa yóò máa ré síwájú ni dáadáa láàmú sí níwòye àmọ̀dún àátúnbá yín yọ̀ ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń sọ lọ́ọ̀bì lónìí Olúwa ò ní jẹ́ kí wọ́n dá iṣu wa ní ègbodò a sì máa rí ọjọ́ ìlọsíwájú nílẹ̀ Áfíríkà tó Olúwa kó máa wà pẹ̀lú wa.
Àmì àṣẹ Èdùmàrè onígbàgbọ́ ni gbogbo wa bàbá wa Ayọ̀adé onítàgbàlagbà bá wà níbì kan àgbà ó súre fọmọdé kọmọdé ó lè bá a pẹ́ bàgbà ṣe pẹ́ bàbá wa àti bàbá wa Òjó ẹ bá ń ẹ súre fọ́jọ́ òní ẹ súre fún ilé ìgbésí ayé tiwa náà ẹ sì súre fún wa pé káwa náà ká gbó ká tọ́ káwa náà sì rí fi ṣayé láti ọ̀dọ̀ yín bàbá wa Ayọ̀adé.
a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run Dáre Olúsan ní agbára Ìdùmarè ó hewu, ó dàgbà,
àṣẹ
ó
Èdùmàrè.
darúgbó, ó
àṣẹ
ní
Èdùmàrè.
ìtẹ́
àmì
ní
o.
agbára Èdùmàrè àti gbogbo àwọn alálẹ̀. Gbogbo ohun tó dáa tó ń fi ọkàn rẹ rò, Olúwa ó pèsè ẹ̀ fún ẹ.
àmì
Olúwa ó pèsè fún àwọn ọmọ rẹ.
àmì
Ó jẹun ọmọ, kò ní há ọ lọ́rùn.
àmì
Lágbára Ọlọ́run, àwọn ọmọ rẹ wọn ó ṣe dáadáa lójú rẹ.
àmì àmì
Gbogbo àṣeyẹ tó sì yẹ kí wọ́n ó ṣe aṣojú ẹ̀.
àmì
Ó ní kábàámọ̀ pé o rán wọn léèwé. O ò ní sìnkú ẹ, o ò ní fọwọ́ ẹ gbé òkú ẹnìkankan sin.
àmì
Lágbára Èdùmàrè, ọ̀nà rẹ á tọ́,
àmì
ẹ̀mí rẹ á gùn,
àmì àmì
gbogbo
àmì
àdáwọ́lé rẹ yóò yọrí sí rere.
àmì
Nítorí tá a bẹ̀bẹ̀ lórúkọ Jésù Olúwa wa.
àmì àmì àmì. Ẹ ṣeun bàbá, ojú òní tì yín, àgbà yóò dalẹ̀. Mo dúpẹ́ pé òkun tágbàlagbà bá fi ewu tó bá fi ewu súre fún ọmọ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá, ire ńlá ni, ìbùkún ńlá ni. Mo dúpẹ́ pé òkun, n ò kọyán rẹ̀ kéré. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín, mo sì dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ bàbá wa Òjó. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀yin náà. Ẹ ṣeun pé ẹ wá sórí àtàgbè yìí. Ẹ jáwọ́ dágbére pọ̀ lójú òpó ètò èyí tí parí gbogbo àgbà ńlá ayé. Ojú òní tiwa, ìbàjẹ́ òní bá wa. Ẹ wò ó, tá a bá pọ̀ lójú òpó ètò, tá a bá fi àwọn àjàsà kọ̀ọ̀kan sí, yóò dàgbà tẹ́pà àti ìṣe kankan lórí òpó ètò yìí náà ni. Ẹ wo mo kí ilé ìpè ìfẹ́ òdáyé ní tí Ojúmọ́ Ire sí bá wá, mo kí gbogbo ládéládé, mo kí ọkọ lóyè lóye gbogbo lùlù pátápátá, mo kọkùnrin, mo kóbìnrin, mo kọmọdé, mo kágbà. Kámọ ọbẹ ní bẹṣú, ìran àtẹlẹsẹ á sì bẹ̀nà wọ. Ẹ bá dábọ̀ nìkan là ní dé bá lé o. Ire lójú owó rí, ire nílé wa, ire lọ́dẹ̀ wa, ire ní gbogbo ibi tí a bá wà. Ẹ̀yin bàbá tẹ wá sójú òpó, mo dúpẹ́ pé òkú lọ́wọ́ yín. Ojú òní tì yín, ìbàjẹ́ òní bá yín. Gbogbo ń tá a bá jẹun nípa láti fi gbé orílẹ̀-èdè wa àti ẹ̀yà wa àti ilẹ̀ adúláwọ̀ lárugẹ, ẹja máa sapá àwọn. Èmi náà sì gbìyànjú láti máa rí dájú pé mò ń gbé yín wá lóòrèkóòrè kí àwọn ènìyàn kan lè bá lè máa gbọ́ sí i, kan sì lè máa mu nínú kànga omi ọgbọ́n èyí tẹ́lẹ́dùn àfikún yín. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín o, mo sì dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ màmá wa Òjó náà pẹ̀lú. Àwọn náà ṣèyá wa lórí òpó ètò yìí. Tí mo wá kò lójú òpó ètò tábí abo ò bá súre fún mi, yóò dàgbà tẹ́ pé n ò tí ì ṣètò. Abíamọ ṣe dẹ̀jẹ̀ lọ́mọ lórí. Lónìí náà ni tí mò ń rántí ọjọ́ tí ìyá mi tó fọ orúnkún méjì kúnlẹ̀ tó dẹ̀jẹ̀ lé lórí. Ìyá mi, ẹ bá ń ṣàdúrà fún mi, ẹ ṣàdúrà fún mi. Àdúrà abíamọ, a gbọ́dọ̀ kanyàn rẹ̀ kéré. Ẹ ṣàdúrà fún mi.
Mo gbàdúrà fún yín, Mr. Olùsàn, pé Ọlọ́run máa bùkún fún yín.
Àmín Jésù.
Ire lẹ́ẹ̀ máa rí.
Àmín Jésù.
Àwọn ọmọ yín wọ́n ó ṣoríire.
Àmín.
Gbogbo ìdílé yín ẹ̀ ṣoríire.
Àmín.
Gbogbo nǹkan tẹ́ ẹ bá dáwọ́lé lọ́lọ́run ó bùkún fún.
Àmín. Àmín. Àmín Jésù.
Ọjọ́ iwájú yín yóò dára ju ẹ̀yìn lọ.
Àmín. Àmín. Àmín.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń ṣe iṣẹ́ yín, ẹ ṣe láyọrí. Ẹ sì tún jẹ́ ìbùkún fún gbogbo àwọn tó wà ní àyíká yín.
Àmín.
Mo gbàdúrà lórúkọ Jésù. Àmín.
Àmín. Àmín. Kọ́lọ̀ mú wọlé àṣẹ lọ. Kórí bó ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe tán gẹ́lẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni kórí. Mo dúpẹ́ ìyá wa, ojú òní tì yín, ẹ̀yin ni ìyá wa, ẹ pẹ́ fún wa lágbára ìgbàre. Oúnjẹ ọmọ òní kúrò lẹ́nu yín. Mo dúpẹ́ pé òkun lọ́wọ́ yín. Mo sì dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó ń wò wá, àwọn tó ń share, àwọn tó ń like. Ẹ jẹ́ ká máa fèyí ṣèlọ́kọ̀ lórí àtàgbè yìí. Wọ́n mọ̀ gbé yín wá lóòrèkóòrè tí a sì máa ṣe àwọn àjọmọ́ ní ìjọ ìfọ̀rọ̀jomitoro ọ̀rọ̀ lórí àwọn ìtẹ̀síwájú tá a fẹ́ kó bá ilẹ̀ adúláwà. Bàbá wa Professor Òjó, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín. Bàbá wa Professor John Ayọ̀adé, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín. Ìyá wa Rachel Òjó, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín. Ẹ jẹ́ máa fèyí ṣèlọ. Ire o, ayọ̀, àtàlàáfíà kó máa bá yín gbé. Mo dúpẹ́ pẹ́ òkun. Mo mọ̀ lórí, mo dúpẹ́, ojú òní tì yín. Ẹ ṣeun gan sà. Ó dàbọ̀ sà. Ẹ ṣeun o, ẹ ṣeun. Ẹyẹ rẹ̀ tí ó wà ní gbogbo àgbáńlá ayé, ojú òní tiwa, ìbàjẹ́ òní bá wa. Ẹ já máa ṣe kí ni, ká máa fa ọkọ̀ ètò yìí, ká máa wàárọ̀ sí i. Ṣùgbọ́n kí n tó wàárọ̀, ẹ wò ó, ní tí mo jí gbà láàárọ̀ yìí rè, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá lè rí kà. Tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá rí kà, n ó kà á fún yín. Ẹ̀bùn pàtàkì tí ọmọ mi tó fún mi rèé. N ó kà á jáde. Ó ní, on this day, the 4th of July, my amazing grandmother, who is now with God, gave birth to a child, which is you, my father. And each year we celebrate this day. This day we call your birthday. So today we come together to celebrate your birthday. I hope you have a great day and long life in Jesus' name. Amen. Ọmọ mi ló fi ránṣẹ́ ó ní láti ọ̀dọ̀ Dàmọ́lá. Mo dúpẹ́ o lọ́wọ́ ọmọ yìí. Ìwọ náà ó dàgbà, ó dògbó, inú mi dùn, ayọ̀ mi kún. Ẹyẹ tí gbọ́ ní gbogbo àgbáńlá ayé, ire lójú owó rí, ire náà dẹ̀wà. Ẹyẹ bọ́ ẹ̀wò orí social media ti kún. Àwọn èèyàn ti ń ju mẹ́sẹ̀gì lọ́tùn lósì. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Professor Lumumba. Mo sì dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ aṣojú wọn náà pẹ̀lú. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀yin tó fẹ́ràn wa, ẹ̀yin tó ń gbọ́ wa, ẹ̀yin tó ń wò wá, ẹ̀yin tó ń tẹ̀lé wa. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín. Ọjọ́ bí òní ti dùn, ó ti dùn. Mo sì dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ ṣeé ṣe fún wa láti ṣe ọjọ́ bí yìí. Ní ìlà máa fi àdágbé ètò ìrọ̀ sí, oníyàn ṣe, ọlọ́bẹ̀ ṣe, ẹ̀yin tó bá fẹ́ jẹ́ ẹ̀kú àìbínú. Mo ṣọ̀tọ̀ wà pé a máa bẹ ìran ọ̀bẹ ní bẹ́ṣọ àtẹ́lẹsẹ̀ àti ìbẹ̀nà. Ẹ̀ ń bá dáwọ́ bọ̀ nìkan là ní dé bá ń lé o. Ire lójú owó rí, ire nílé wa, ire lọ́dẹ̀ wa, ire lójú tí ẹ bá wà. Ẹ ní dààmú, ẹ ní wálẹ̀ o, ẹ ní nàkàtàkẹ́ tó rí kan. Ire ayọ̀ àtàláfíà ọmọ bẹ́ẹ̀ nìkan ọkàn wá gbé ayẹyẹ yìí ṣe ayẹyẹ tẹ̀síwájú. Ayẹyẹ ọdún kẹwàá the African Porter ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ látòní títí di òpin ọdún yìí. Àwọn èèyàn pàtàkì ẹ wò ó Professor Lumumba 17 July òun náà ni wọ́n bí wọn. Ìyá wa Ṣẹ̀wẹ̀lẹ̀ Jésù 16 July. Ìyá wa Bísí Aláwìyé àwọn náà 23. Gbogbo ayẹyẹ yìí ni ó mọ̀ lọ tó bá wá di ọjọ́ ọ̀la ẹ pàdé bàbá wa Elijah Akitunde Ọlọ́run ò sọ bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ pàdé wọn lórí the African Porter tèmi àti wọn tí àjọ máa rò pọ̀ lórí àtàgbé yìí. Nínú gbogbo nǹkan pátápátá ká máa dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Elédùà. Ọpẹ́ fọ́lọ́run ọba, ọpẹ́ fẹ́ni tó ní wá, ọpẹ́ fẹ́ni tó láyé wa, ọpẹ́ fún ọwọ́ tó ṣílẹ̀kùn ọjọ́, ọpẹ́ tó ń pẹ́ni tó fún wa láyé, tó fún wa láàyè, tó sì fún wa láyé lò. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run ọba àpèpè tán, ọba àkìkì tán, olórúkọ ńlá, olórúkọ pọ̀, ọba tó lọ kán kése, ọba tí kò níbẹ̀rẹ̀, ọba tí kò lópin, ọba tí kò lánàá, ọba tí kò lọ́la, ọba tó ju gbogbo ọba ayé lọ. Gbogbo àná tiẹ̀ ní, gbogbo òní tiẹ̀ ní, gbogbo ọ̀la tiẹ̀ ní, gbogbo ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ tiẹ̀ ní, gbogbo òpin tiẹ̀ ní. Olólágbára náà alágbára, olóńsọ nídìí ńlá, òun náà ló ń fúnni láyọ̀, olọ́ba ńlá, olọ́ba olóore. Ọlọ́run ọba adúpẹ́, Elédùà adúpẹ́, ọba tó lókun ẹ̀mí wa adúpẹ́. Ọdún yìí ti ṣojú ẹ̀mí wa, ire ọdún, ire ayọ̀, ire ìbùkún, ire ọ̀tún, ire òsì, kó máa wọlé wa. Ẹ̀yin dáwọ́ fowó sàkáǹtì wa, ẹ wò ó. Ẹ má kàn kí n lásán, ẹ lọ máa fowó sàkáǹtì mi o. Ẹ lọ máa fowó sàkáǹtì mi, wọ́n ju àkáǹtì nàmbà tí wọ́n jù sórí òpó yìí. Ẹ lọ máa bá fowó sí àkáǹtì mi, ojú òní tì yín, ẹ máa fowó sí àkáǹtì wa. Ẹ máa fi àwọn orin táwọn ọmọ wa fún yín, ẹ máa fi tẹ̀gbádùn títí a fi pàdé lọ́jọ́ míì, ọjọ́ rẹ̀. Ire lójú owó rí, ire nílé wa, ire lọ́dẹ̀ wa, ire ní gbogbo tí ẹ bá wà. Àní dààmú o, àní nàkàntàn ká tó rí kan. Ire náà ni kó máa jẹ́ titi wa, ayọ̀ ni kó máa jẹ́ titi wa, ìbùkún ni kó máa jẹ́ tiwa. Ire, ayọ̀, àtàláfíà kó máa jẹ́ tẹ̀lé kọ̀ọ̀kan wa. Èyí tó ń gbọ́ wa, èyí tó wò wá, èyí tó ń tẹ̀lé wa, ẹ̀yin tínú yín dùn sáwọn nǹkan tí à ń ṣe, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín o, mo mọ̀ lórí o. Ẹ̀yin tó ń kí wa lọ́tùn lósì, mo dúpẹ́ o, mo dúpẹ́ pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yín. Ẹ ní dààmú, ojú òsì ní tì yín, ẹ ní nàkàtàkẹ́ tó rí kan o. Mo dúpẹ́ pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo yín pátápátá. Mú òkọ́yàn ẹnìkan ọ̀kan kéré. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo yín pátápátá fún ìpè lọ́tùn lósì àti àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ fi ránṣẹ́ sí wa. Ó múnú wa dùn. Mo sì dúpẹ́ pọ̀ lọ́wọ́ yìí. Ojú òpó rèé, ibi tẹ́ ẹ máa fowó sí, tẹ́ bá fẹ́ fowó sí àkáǹtì mi. Ó nu ẹ máa bá ń fowó sí àkáǹtì mi o. Ẹ má kàn kí mi kú ayẹyẹ ọjọ́ ìbí, kó má dọ̀la ká máa yá ó mọ̀ ṣe ọjọ́ ìbí. Kọ̀mọ̀rí kankan fi gbó jáde, ẹ fowó sí àkáǹtì mi o. Ẹ má kàn kí mi fún ọjọ́ ìbí lásán. Ẹ má bá fowó sí àkáǹtì mi. Ojú òpó tẹ́ ẹ máa fi owó náà sí ni mo jù sí ojú àtàgbé. Ẹ máa fowó sí àkáǹtì mi o. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ bàbá wa Professor Sunday Òjó. Bàbá mo dúpẹ́ o, mo dúpẹ́ pé òkun àgbà yóò dalẹ̀ lágbára Èdùmàrè, ojú òsì ní tìyín. Gbogbo iṣẹ́ tẹ́ fàárọ̀ ṣe, tẹ́ fọ̀sán ṣe, tẹ́ sì ń falẹ̀, tẹ́ fi ń ṣe lórúkọ Ọlọ́run ọba ní ṣe lásán. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ màmá wa Rachel Òjó. Mo sì dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ bàbá wa náà láti ìlú Ìbàdàn, Emeritus Professor tán wọlé sójú òpó ètò tájọ ṣe ètò yìí. Mo dúpẹ́ pọ̀ òkun ní ọwọ́ wọn. Bàbá wa Ayọ̀adé ní dààmú o. Mo dúpẹ́ pọ̀ òkun lọ́wọ́ yín. Ire lójú owó rí, ire nílé wa. Mo sẹ́ pé wọn ò ní sọ ìbò kankan tí fi kó lójú òpó ètò yìí. Wọn ò ní sọ ìbò ẹyọ kan báyìí, ní gbèbọ ẹyọ kan lẹ́nu mi. Ní gbọ́ ìbò ó kéré ó jù, ní gbọ́ lẹ́nu mi. Èdè Yorùbá ni wọ́n fi parí ètò yìí tá a fi pàgọ́lẹ̀. A máa pàdé ara wa níre láyọ̀ àti lálàáfíà. Ire lójú owó rí, ire ni kó wọlé wa o, ayọ̀ ni kó wọlé wa, ìbùkún ni kó wọlé wa, ìtẹ̀síwájú ni kó wọlé wa, àṣeyọrí ni kó wọlé wa, a máa rí ná, a máa rí lò, a máa rí jẹ, a ní fọwọ́ járí lọ lé lágbára Èdùmàrè. Ẹ jẹ́ máa ṣe kí ni, ká máa wakọ̀ ètò yìí, ká máa wá gúnlẹ̀ ní yìí, ká máa ní pé ó di wọ̀ bí ọjọ́ wọ̀, ká máa pàdé níre, ká máa pàdé láyọ̀, ká máa pàdé níbùkún. Mary Bowman, mo dúpẹ́ pẹ́ òkun. IC Thomas, mo dúpẹ́ pẹ́ òkun. Aunty Donald, mo dúpẹ́ pẹ́ òkun. Ìyá wa Àjàyí nílùú Èkó, mo dúpẹ́ pẹ́ òkun. Gbogbo yín pátápátá ni mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín o, mo sì dúpẹ́ pẹ́ òkun lọ́wọ́ yín. Ojú òní ti ẹnì kọ̀ọ̀kan wa, ìbàjẹ́ òsì ní bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan wa. A ní dààmú o, a ṣàṣeyọrí, a láyọ̀ nílé, a láyọ̀ lọ́ọ̀dẹ̀, a láyọ̀ gbogbo tí a bá wà. Ẹ máa bá ń share ẹ máa dáta lógúnlógún, ẹ máa dáta lọ́gbọ̀nlọ́gbọ̀n. Ẹ jẹ́ ìgbórí wọlé, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀yin tó ń kíwe náà ní gbogbo àgbáláyé, èrò pọ̀ bàbí tó ń kí wa lójú òpó yìí. Ẹ máa fi lè jẹ́ ìgbádùn, ẹ jẹ́ ájú sí kẹgbọ̀n lúkúlúkú. Lúdàrẹ sọ wípé àṣe ìṣetúnṣe ni o, bá a bá ṣe èyí tán.
It's Maestro on the beat, baby.
Àyẹ̀kùn èèyàn bá yan lẹ́ẹ̀dá ohun burúkú a máa yọ ọdún wọn ṣe ni. Mo ti sọ tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ nínú orin tó lè kọjá. Ẹni Ọlọ́run fẹ́ lọ ọmọ èèyàn fẹ́. Ẹ máa yọ́nú sí mi. Àgbàtọ̀mọdé ẹ máa yọ́nú sí mi o. Ọkùnrin tóbìnrin ẹ yọ́nú sí mi. Ẹni bá yọ́nú sí mi. Ṣọ́jú ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run ọba, ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run ọba, ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run ọba, ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run ọba, ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run ọba òun lẹ́ ó máa rí. Ẹ máa yọ́nú sí mi, ọkùnrin ẹ yọ́nú sí mi, obìnrin ẹ yọ́nú sí mi, gbogbo ẹni bá yọ́nú sí mi o, ó ṣọ́jú ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run ọba, ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run ọba, ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run ọba, ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run ọba, ìyọ́nú Ọlọ́run ọba òun lẹ́lẹ́ máa rí. Àánú mo rí gbà adé orí ọ̀gbìn. Àánú mo rí gbà adé orí ọ̀gbìn. Èmi jáyé orí mi adé orí ọ̀gbìn.
Inú òdòdó ó fún mi, kí ló wá ṣe ní bí kò ṣe ọpẹ́? Ọpẹ́ ní tèmi lọ́jọ́ gbogbo. Ara ẹ̀ ti gbé ẹ bá mi jó. Ènìyàn mi ẹ bá mi jó. Kíkì Olúwa mi. Ẹ bá mi gbéga, ẹ bá mi gbéga, ẹ bá mi gbéga. Ẹ bá mi gbé Jésù ká ọba ọlọ́lá sọ bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ bá mi kúbẹ̀ Ọlọ́run Sámúsì wá. Bóyá fi ijó rẹ̀ gbéga, ẹ bá mi gbéga, ẹ bá mi gbéga. Ẹ bá mi gbé Jésù ká ọba ọlọ́lá sọ bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ bá mi gbéga, ẹ bá mi gbéga. Bóyá náwó ẹ sókè àná rẹ̀ máa. Yeshua, Amasia, Lion of Judah, Hakune Temba, Yeshua, Amasia, Lion of Judah, Hakune Temba, oh yeah, so we go, things that are impossible, the things that money cannot buy. The things the money cannot buy, the things the money cannot do, are the things he has done for me. Father.